Hi, I'm Sophie, and welcome to my world. Believe it or not, today is Q&A number 18. I know, crazy, right? Q&A number 18. And this is a special Q&A because it is inspired by one of my viewers who sends me the most amazing questions. So I am calling Q&A number 18, the Shaelynn Show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Shaelynn Show. And Shaelynn has asked me a series of questions that I'm going to answer for you right now. Question number 1. I feel like I should do a different voice. If you had to choose between being stung by a swarm of bees or being attacked by a bear, which would you choose? Well, Shaelynn, here's the deal. I am allergic to bees, so I really don't have a choice here. I would have to say being attacked by a bear because I might at least have a chance of getting away from the bear. Problem with the bees is if I get stung by a bunch of bees, I am down for the count before you can say honey. So I'm going for the bear and hoping that I can run faster than he can. Number 2, what are some of your favorite memories from parties and tutorials here on YouTube? Okay, well, one of my favorite parties ever was a natural disaster party. I know it sounds like a really strange idea for a party, but it was like one of my favorite parties ever. And what we did is, because you never know when a natural disaster is going to hit, right? So we had an activity or a craft for each of those natural disasters, and we had all these balloons that we had, helium balloons placed all over the place. And in each one, there was a natural disaster. So it was written on a piece of paper, rolled up and put into the balloon and then blown up. And then we had these big, giant lightning bolts that had this very sharp point on it, and they would jab the balloon, right, with the lightning. It would pop and make a big thunder sound, and then the paper would come out, and they'd all look for the paper. Well, then they find the paper, and they would open it up, and it would be like flood. And so then what we did is, like, the activity was we made this little village, like everybody made like a little house, and we set it up in this big long trough, and then we put the sand in and made it so it looked like a little town, right? And then this was my favorite thing. We gave the kids buckets, and each kid filled up a bucket, and then they swoosh, like dumped the whole bucket down at the end of the trough, and it was like this huge flood, and all of the houses went whoa, and they tumbled. It was like so awesome. Okay, so it was crazy. I mean, we did everything. We had an avalanche where we had all these styrofoam pieces falling on their heads, and then we had all these little people that were buried, little rubber people that were buried in ice cubes, and they had to get them out of the ice cubes without, you know, they couldn't break them. They had to rub them out or use heat or somehow get them, melt them out. It was so much fun. So the natural disasters party was probably one of my favorite parties ever. The best YouTube moment, I think, I mean, we've had so many great YouTube moments where we've just had a great time with Connor and Hannah and all of my, and Liam and all of my other different co-hosts. But my favorite time was when one of my best friends, Cheryl, came and she was on set with me, and she did a couple things with her daughter Phoebe, and just being there with one of my best friends was really, really special for me. So that was probably my best YouTube moment, although there's like so many YouTube moments I can hardly even think of them all. Number 3, have you ever run a party for charity or a support fund for research, say like Rescue for Dogs or other animals, raising money to help find a cure for cancer, etc.? Okay, so here's the deal. I haven't done animals and I haven't done cancer. However, what I have done is I have become very, very integrated with a bunch of the homeless shelters in San Francisco, San Mateo, all over California here in our little pocket of Northern California. I work with a group called Life Moves, Children of Shelters, Children Champions, which is a Wender Weiss foundation for children. And then I also donate my time at least once a month. Sometimes it's once a week, depending on, like in the summer I do once a week. I do a library program where I do an art program with anybody and everybody who shows up, adults, kids, you name it. And that is all gratis. So I do that because I love sharing art. And the work that I do with the homeless shelters, we've been doing for 10, 12, 15, maybe even 15 years now, we do events for them where we go in and we have big crafting tables, or we set up like a Christmas party or a Halloween party. So those are my two. You know, you kind of have to decide where you're going to put your energies, and because kids are such a focus for me, I've decided that the libraries are a great resource because I love libraries, but then also reaching out to homeless children and being able to work with them and give them an opportunity to be creative is the best way that I can share my talents. So those are the two organizations that I work for. Number 4. What is your favorite animal to work with when you are talking about hiring companies and bringing in animals and things like that? Okay, so I mentioned that every now and then, you know, we bring in a petting zoo. This is for my party planning business. Every now and then we bring in a petting zoo, or we bring in some exotic animals. One time we had a camel, and one time we had a monkey, and we've had various pigs and ponies and unicorns and that sort of thing. I think my favorite animal was the monkey. He was the cutest little thing you ever did see. He was like this big, and he had a little diaper on because he was a baby monkey. And it was just about possibly the best moment of my life was to see this little monkey. Because when I met him, he reached out his little hand and he took my finger and he just held my little finger and he like looked at me right in the eyes, and I was like, oh, it's a little monkey. It was so cute. So that, oh, and hedgehogs. We've worked with hedgehogs before, and I love hedgehogs. They're just so snorfully. I love them. And tiny little baby pigs. I love little baby pigs. So that's a lot of animals. I do love animals. I don't have any of my own because I just don't have the time to have one, but I love animals. Anyway, number 5. What is your favorite acronym about life or even duct tape? So, okay, I don't think this is an acronym that's actually out there, but for me, I like to say BTIG, believe there is good. Because a lot of people get down and a lot of people are so negative and anti-people, and I always like to believe that there is good. I like to believe that people are inherently good. So for me, it's BTIG, believe there is good. The other thing that I always write is LOL, you know, laugh out loud. And the thing is that it's not really that I'm laughing out loud, but I'm smiling or I'm amused. And so I always like to say IAS, I am smiling. However, I don't write that because I don't think people would know what IAS is. So in my head, I'm thinking IAS as I'm typing LOL. So if you see LOL, know that I'm smiling. And the last question she has asked, if you had to choose one word to describe yourself, what would it be? It's so funny because if you were to ask like my staff, or if you were to ask like my husband, or maybe my sister, or maybe my mom, they might say my word is stressed, because I'm always like, I'm going from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And I'm always a little bit stressed trying to get everything done. But for myself, I think what I would like to think my word is upbeat. I would hope that my word is upbeat with a side of stress. How's that? Upbeat with a side of stress. So there you have it, Shaelynn. That brings the end of the Shaelynn Show. Thank you, Shaelynn, for the great questions. I know you have more that you've given me, and so I'll be answering those in a future Q&A, which means we'll have another set of Shaelynn shows. But if you're not Shaelynn and you have a question for me or a comment, make sure you leave it down below. And you know, remember, I love hearing from you guys. It makes my day when I hear that you're making stuff, or that you're getting creative, or you have things to share with me. I love hearing from you guys. So make sure you write something below. All right, guys. Thank you for coming and joining Q&A number 18, the Shaelynn Show.